Hello guys, this is a video that I decided to upload because there wasn't many chances of finding a troubleshooting guide on the two tanks. We have two tanks on this 95-96 Ranger boat. One's on the starboard side, one's on the port side. And we seem to be able to fire up and run on the starboard side, no problem, but on the port side, it'll idle, sputter out, and eventually die. So we're going to do a troubleshoot on what to do. The first thing is, to be able to troubleshoot this, look down where the bulb pump is. I put it on the port side. As you can see, I can pump it up. As you can see, it stays. It won't suck anymore, so that shows there's a clog on at least that side. But let's verify that. The way that we verify that there's a clog on that particular side is we go down here to the switch. And you see here on the switch how we have this pointing, hopefully you can see the port side. Up side says starboard, this side says off. So we're gonna make it go up to the starboard side and pump the same. Hey guys, I'm back again. We were able to start off this procedure with not accessing the fuel tank, but looking at our particular fuel line setup. As you can see here, I accessed my fuel filter, which was bolted down here, and then I also disconnected the lines, which is much easier to do if you have extra fuel line, is to just slice your line and slide them off there. But as you can see, we added a clear line, so when we go ahead and put the throttle, the ignition in the on position, we can view visibly how the fuel is flowing. So let's get that all taped off so we don't suck in any air, and we'll check it up on next view. Okay, as you can see, I've taped off the clear hose, which you can see some fuel in there, so we didn't suck in any air, and it's going to the input of the fuel filter. The other side is the output to the outboard and the fuel pump. Some vehicles and boats have inline fuel pumps, so you'll need to determine whether you have one of those or not, and then we'll turn the key on and see what kind of fuel we get through here on the port side, which seems to not let the engine run. So on the next view, we'll see that. Okay, here we have the switch, and as you can see, it's pointing up to the starboard side, and we want it to point. Starboard side is fine, so we're going to start with the trouble side here first and put it to port. Okay, here we're going to turn the switch on, and you'll hear the fuel pump come on in the engine, and then we'll see what happens to our line here. It's on. Nothing seems to be flowing. No flow whatsoever. Okay, so next I'm going to do is switch back to starboard and try the flow. Okay, we switched back to starboard and we seem to have flow, but it isn't for very long, because when you turn the switch on, the pump only runs for a certain period of time, then it turns off. That's because if the engine is not running, it automatically turns the fuel off. So if there's a leak somewhere and the engine's not running, it won't, fill up the bottom of the boat with gas. So what we probably have to do is go ahead and use our own pump and access the fuel line from this side, or even from the bulb side, to check the flow. Also, I noticed that here on the bulb, it's blowing fuel both ways without getting hard, and that's a no-no. Your bulb should get hard, and it should only blow one way. As you can see the arrow right there. So that's one of the first things that we're going to change, and we'll start from there when we get it on. Okay, we're back here a day or two later, and I did go ahead and get me a 12 volt
from Amazon. Actually, it was pretty good. The local parts store wanted like 60 bucks for a standard fuel pump, and I bought this for 12 bucks plus $10 overnight ship. Anyway, here's the pump that we're going to use. One in, one out. You want to be careful on what pressure you use any time that you're hooked to the motor, because it should only have, I think, 2 to 4 on a certain section, and then on the high side where the EFI fuel injectors, it has a pressure increaser. So what I did was we're going to go ahead and replace this prime bulb right here, because it's bad, and then we're going to hook a pump to it. And I pulled these seats out, as you can see, and we're going to check this 3-way valve. This evidently seems to be the side that's not working. Let's come back around here, or is plugged or something. There are tank tubes that go down from there that we'll have to check to see if there's a plugged filter on the end. We don't know what any owners have done aftermarket. And just so you know, these tanks are plastic. Don't step on them, whatever you do. And then here's some sending unit wires that we'll check. But we'll come back and we'll get the pumps hooked up. And once we get all the pumps hooked up for that fuel pump I got, we'll see which one's restricted and go from there. All right. Okay, these are 3/8 inch fuel line hose, which I'm going to go ahead and replace. Each of these tanks going to the valves are 24 inches, and then we measured the feed to the motor goes all the way down and around about 12 feet. So I'm going to make sure and replace those before I hook up the pump. Okay, we got a replacement primer bulb, 8M006 1876 from Mercury. About 50 bucks, but let me tell you, they're worth it. Need to put my primer bulb on. Got my clear hose so I can check fuel flow, and then this down into a bucket. So what we're going to do is we're going to prime up to the pump and then get it turned on. Okay, we got the pump hooked up, and we're just going to touch our negative here. Looks like it's flowing through. We're on the starboard side. Everything's working. Pumping down into there. Looks good. Flowing through. Okay, I'll try the port side. We'll switch. As you can see, there's a switch down there, and we'll turn that. They're about 21 or 24 each, and it has a switch in the front. Ranger 488. V is in Victor, S is in Sam. There's the fuel filter. There's no separator, but those are the hoses that we're replacing, and that's how to test it. Okay guys, here's the valve. Port, starboard, off. And take the screw out of the center and pull this off, and these two comes off of the housing mount. As you can see, you have to take these clamps off each hose here. They're more outer damaged and brittle than anything else, but at least there's not been leaking. And then you slice the end of these with a razor knife and they'll come right off. Otherwise, you have a risk of breaking off those nipples, and you don't want to do that. So I know it's a big hassle, but do we want to fix the fuel line while we're in the water? Well, we got it here. Looks like here is going to do it. FYI guys, just wanted to let you know, one thing you should do is take the hose off the motor side and switch this to starboard. Blow all the gas out backwards so it empties the hoses, and then switch it to port side. Blow all the gas out backwards towards the tank, and then make sure that all your hoses are empty, and you won't be leaking fuel all over the boat. Okay guys, we're ready to put our new hoses on. All the nipples are clean. We have our hose ready to hook to the old one, pull it through. Got plenty of length, a little bit extra. And one no-no we saw here, these hoses might have been sucking air, because these, when you see a clamp like this that's really too big for the diameter of the hose, that's evident. So they should be replaced with a nice clamp that will seat. These here kink, and there could be a air gap in between. Probably not, but rather be safe than sorry. Every single one of these look like they were kinked, so you can tell if that one's kinked too. So we'll put the right clamps on them too. That one there, much nicer. Very nice. All the way around. Okay guys, as you can see, old hose I attached to the new hose. Pulled the old hose out. Here I have it attached. Pulled the new hose through. Gave it plenty of room to reach the filter. And it's better, it takes two guys to do it, but pulled that old hose out of there. And now we got a brand new one. Fed, and I can put it onto the valve. Okay, as you can see there, put a shaft in between the two hoses when I put them together so that there wouldn't be any bump, because this did have to go through a hole about that big, and I didn't want it to get caught up there. So I used lots of tape, because you don't want that sucker breaking off or getting stuck back in there somewhere. So yeah, that worked out good. All I got to do is get my extension back. Okay guys, what we're going to do is we're going to check out the hoses after the fact. So we got everything installed, and got quite a mess going on here. Covers are all off, everything's torn apart, and we're gonna have to put it all back together, but let me show you what I did here. We got the valve all clamped back on there really nice. Works good. Our main line to our motor. This is the port tank. Goes over to that side. Starboard tank, it goes over, and they're all situated really nice. Brand new. And we have our brand new feeder line going in through the wall after pulling it through, down to the filter, brand new bulb, and up into the motor, which should be really good, and we're going to test it here in another day or so. But yeah, quite a bit better than, look at this stuff here. These here, they were okay on the outside except for brittle, but I think a couple of them were flapped on the inside, because when I blow on one side and the other, you feel a little, so there might be a flap in there. And the hard thing about that is being able to troubleshoot. So we just replace them all. So it looks really good. We got a tournament coming up here Saturday, so I need to make sure it was all real good and test it out tomorrow. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing put back together. 3, 2, 1. Slipped it all back together. Now we're going to come over here for the start procedure. Put the battery on 1. Pump up our ball, prime bulb. And yes, it's still sucking. It's not concave still. That looks good. So we can come over here to verify that you always start a motor either in the water or with some ears. Get some ears going. Make sure it's sealed and it's coming out the overflow. It's good there. Nothing else to do but to try it. Oh yeah. Like the sound of that. And through the overflow. Do not run your motor unless you see it coming out the overflow. It shows you got good water circulation. There's no bee nests in there. Like that. Looks like we're heading to the water for a test. Hallelujah. Okay.